Today, we are going to talk about the suspense movie, The Translator. But before we start, if you're watching for the first time, do not forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you receive all the upcoming videos. The Translator follows 9 of the world's most skilled translators as they take on a mystery job at a secluded shelter. These highly experienced professionals are accustomed to working at high-profile conferences and meetings, but they are immediately thrown off by the unusual behavior of their client, Eric Anderson. Upon their arrival, Eric confiscates their phones and personal belongings before bringing them to the shelter, a secret basement hidden behind multiple layers of security. Once there, Eric reveals that he has hired the translators for a 2-month assignment, the translation of a novel for his publishing house. He expects them to complete 20 pages of the book per day and informs them that they will be staying at the shelter for the duration of the job, with weekends spent on site as well. Eric emphasizes the importance of secrecy, but the translators are deeply curious about the content of the novel and their strange circumstances. As they work on the translation, the translators bond with each other and pass the time by chatting, eating, and sleeping. They're particularly excited about the fact that the novel they're translating is the 3rd part of a highly popular series called Triple de Dallas, which has already made millions in profit. They can't wait to finish the book and meet the writer, but they know that Eric will be an obstacle. As the 2 months come to a close, a shocking revelation is made. Eric is in jail, speaking with someone who claims to have stolen the novel. The translators are shocked and confused, wondering how the theft could have taken place under their noses. The story flashes back to 2 months earlier, when the translators first began their job at the shelter. Despite their professional efficiency, they're unable to shake the feeling that something isn't quite right. As the mystery deepens, they become determined to uncover the truth about Eric and the stolen novel. As the translators work on the translation of the novel, Eric becomes attracted to one of the translators, Katrina, who bears a resemblance to the heroine of the book. He invites her to his office, where she discovers a bag with a code on it. She attempts to open it before Eric arrives, and inside finds the original manuscript of the novel. As she is handling the papers, Eric enters the room, and she quickly closes the bag before he notices. On Christmas Day, Eric receives a shocking text message that claims that 10 pages of the novel have been published on the internet and that the rest of the book will be released unless a ransom of $5 million is paid. Eric becomes suspicious of the translators and orders the guards to search their rooms. During the search, a novel is found in the room of one of the translators, Helen Toxin. Eric assumes that she is responsible for the publication of the novel, but upon reading it, he realizes that it is written in Danish and was simply a personal project that Helen had started working on during her time at the shelter. Angry at the perceived lack of professionalism, Eric burns the pages of the novel. The translators gather to discuss the situation and conclude that it is unlikely that one of them could have secretly published a novel, as they have no access to devices or the internet. They become suspicious of one of their colleagues, who is wearing a splint on his hand, and as they try to search it, they find nothing. Later, Katrina follows Alex into his room and confronts him about the papers she found in Eric's office. He is forced to reveal that 3 months earlier, he was in prison for translating the first 2 parts of the Triple de Dallas series without permission. Desperate to meet the writer of the series, he asked Eric for help, and Eric agreed to hire him for the translation of the 3rd part of the series under the condition that he completes a test of his proficiency. Alex successfully passed the test and was given the job at the shelter. Alex confesses to Katrina that he knows the beginning of the novel by heart because the writer always uses the same words at the beginning of each chapter. Eric returns to the shelter and becomes convinced that the thief will continue to send him ransom messages. In an effort to extract a confession, he subjects the translators to a strip search and threatens to cut off their access to food, water, and electricity. As they huddle in the dark, lit only by a candle, Katrina confronts Alex about his second lie. She has memorized the first part of the novel and realizes that the writer does not always use the same words at the beginning of each chapter. 3 months later, Eric is seen talking with someone in jail. The camera reveals that the person he is talking to is Alex. Alex reveals that he planned the theft from the beginning and had been carefully observing Eric's habits. He knew that Eric took the subway at the same time every day and sat in the same seat for 15 minutes before getting off. One day, while Eric was on the subway, Alex switched the bag containing the novel with an empty one without anyone noticing. He ran off with the real bag and gave it to his colleagues, who took photos of the novel. It is revealed that all 9 translators were in on the conspiracy, motivated by their belief that they were being underpaid for their translation work. As Alex continues to explain the details of their plan, he reveals that when they finished printing the original novel, he was supposed to switch the bags back before the 15 minutes were up, and he got off the subway. However, in their haste, Eric's pen fell out of the bag and their friend tripped trying to catch it, breaking his arm in the process. With the help of his colleague, Alex was able to quickly exchange the bags again, and they celebrated the success of their scheme. Flashback to the secret shelter. The translators are sitting in the darkness, surrounded by candles. Derek Fairley is working with a candle in one hand and a knife in the other, when he suddenly screams upon discovering that Helen has hanged herself, unable to cope with the way Eric was treating them. Instead of feeling remorse, Eric increases the pressure on the group, threatening to kill them one by one if the thief does not confess. In the chaos, Alex points out that it is impossible for one of them to have sent Eric a ransom message, as they don't have any phones. Eric becomes angry and hits Alex, holding a gun to their heads. The translators realize that they can use their knowledge of different languages to communicate without Eric understanding. They decide to attack Eric and the guards, counting to 3 in Chinese. However, their plan backfires when Eric, who understands Chinese, shoots Katrina. In a moment of desperation, Alex confesses that he is the thief and asks Eric to call an ambulance. In exchange, he will reveal the location of his laptop, which has been automatically publishing parts of the novel every few days until the ransom is paid. Eric agrees to the deal and asks his assistant to destroy the laptop, but she refuses. He then decides to transfer the ransom money to Alex's account in an effort to stop the publication of the novel. However, he soon receives another message saying that the entire novel has been published and the thief no longer wants the money. Eric becomes hopeless and shoots Alex, but the guards intervene before he can harm the others. It is revealed that the books Alex was carrying in his chest saved him from being killed. Flash forward to Eric questioning Alex on how he knew about the third part of the novel and was able to predict its existence. The police are listening in on the conversation, but Alex covers the microphone and whispers to Eric that he is the writer of the third part of the novel. We're then taken back in time to when Alex was a young boy who loved to read books at the library. The owner of the library took a liking to him, and one day, when Alex tried to steal a book he wanted to read, the owner caught him. The owner offered to give him the book if he could figure out who the real killer was in the novel. Without hesitation, Alex declared that all the characters in the book were guilty, and the two became friends. Alex began working at the library and eventually wrote his own novel. The owner of the library encouraged him to send it to a publishing house, but Alex was hesitant because he had heard that the publisher, Angus Strong, treated translators poorly and paid them inadequate salaries. Despite Alex's objections, the owner of the library sent the novel to Angus Strong. In the present, Eric is in shock as he struggles to believe Alex's claims. Alex confesses that he didn't actually steal the novel from the subway and that he had fabricated the entire plot in order to make the translators believe he was the writer. He tells Eric that he doesn't need to steal the novel because he is the writer, and he will tell the police that the $80 million in his account is actually the advance payment for the third part of the novel. This means that Eric will be the only criminal, and any story he tells the police will not be believed. Eric then removes his hands from the microphone, and Eric is shocked. He breaks down and admits to killing the owner of the library, and the police overhear him. It is revealed that Eric was angry about the cancellation of the collaboration between the publishing house and the library, so he killed the owner of the library in an attempt to make it look like an accident. Alex, driven by the desire for revenge for his friend, the owner of the library, set out to make Eric confess to his crime. In a fit of rage, Eric attacks Alex and tries to choke him, but the police intervene and save Alex. He is then released from jail, having gotten his revenge.